Hello and welcome to another week in our garden. Now we're down at the apple tree and we're going to pick the apples. We have had this morning quite a heavy rain shower, and the looks of the sky, there'll be another one here soon. So we're going to pick the apples and hopefully cut those raspberries down now they've finished fruiting, but we'll come to that in a moment. As you can see, the apples look absolutely beautiful. I'll just try one. Just take the weight of the apple and lift, and if it comes off like that, it's ready. Just lift them up and they will break off. If they're not quite ready, they just won't release. As you can see, lovely apples. We need to get these in before it gets any colder and wetter, and if the high winds do come that we've been forecast, a lot of them will blow off. I've been picking quite a few up off the floor over the last couple of days, so I know they're not far off ready, but we'll pick a few and see how we go with it. So I'll just start picking a few in this area, I think, because there's such a lot, and then I'll get Diane to help me pick the rest. Here are, look, it's just a case of pick them up and they'll come off. You see? Straight off. Lovely apples, lovely colour. Lovely apples. We'll pick a few and then come back to you and show you the basket full. It's a hole or something in it, so what we'll do, we'll pick them, and when I get them to the shed, I'll go through them all, and anything like that we put down and use first. Now we've picked the apples. We just had to have one little break because it started to rain. The tree really ought to have the tops cut down a little, but being that it's been bad weather this year, it seems to have put on quite a bit of growth. So what I'll do is I'll let the leaves drop off and then I'll winter prune it, because the bottom of the tree, when the fruit got on it, was nearly touching the ground, and we don't really want that. So the top and the bottom I'll winter prune this year instead of summer pruning. So there'll be no summer pruning of our apple tree this year. It's a bit late in the season for summer pruning anyway, but we will be quite hard on it, I'm afraid, in the winter when it's lost all its leaves and it's very cold. We'll whip the top off. As you can see, that little tree produces a lot of apples. The apples in this crate of what were at the bottom of the tree, so they obviously haven't got the sunshine, so they haven't got the reddening on them, but that's fine, they will stand all right. Now we need to get all these apples up to the shed, and we need to try and get those raspberries cut down. So let's sort these out and then we'll get on with the raspberries. Now we've finally got into the fruit cage, and as soon as we get a dry day we'll remove the net now, because there's no real fruit in here for the birds to come in and eat, but they can come in and forage a little bit. Now these are the Primocanes. These are the summer flowering fruiting raspberries. Now they've finished cropping, we've had a brilliant crop off them, and now it's time to cut them down so that next year they can grow up from the root again and produce us hopefully a little bit better crop, especially at this end. But they are growing, so we should be alright. But main job is to cut them down now. If you can remember, when we tied them up, we only tied them loosely because we knew we was going to cut them down, and we used jute string so it can go straight in the compost bin. But most of this will go through the shredder first. So we just cut the strings, get them off. If you want to, you can take them down in stages. That is sometimes a lot easier. Let me just half one or two of these and then we'll show you the bottom. They do go through the shredder quite easy because they're only softwood. And then when we get right down here, look, if you can see, let me take some off and show you tight up. There you are, now you can see. There they are, look. Go right down there and take them off. And cut them halfway to make life easier. And so we're using the compostable string. You haven't got to take your strings off. Just pull them through. Now, as you can see, there's still one or two with fruit on. These odd little fruits that are left, I always give to the chickens, and they love them. And then, as I said before, all the way down. Just to mention while I'm doing the raspberries that will flower next spring, which are the floricanes, I keep tying them in so they won't be knocking about through the winter in the storms. As you can see, they're all nicely tightened up onto the frame, and that's all you do to them. These we remove. Right. Oh no, we did. Such like as this one that is come off the main run, but still grown, still fruited well. But we'll take it off, then in the winter we'll dig that up and put it back into its run. If you come to clean up after you've cut them down, don't disturb the soil too deep because they are very, very shallow rooted. So if anything, just put mulch on top. Now the ones on this side are what we lost and we had to replace them. We tried to replace them with the same variety, but they never made a lot this year, so I'm expecting next year to have a full line. They've tried to produce, they haven't done too bad. They have tried to produce and they're good sized berries, but next year they'll be fuller. There you go. There you are then, that's the Primocane raspberries cut down. That's all you really need to do. If you wish to do anything, as I said before, just put mulch on top. When we're getting our compost out of the bins, I might just give a light dressing, but no fertilizers etc. at the moment. These are the floricanes. These will fruit in the summer before the primocanes. Now all we do is tie them in, bend them over, keep them nice and firm for the winter, and then in the spring we'll cut these tops off a little bit so that it'll all break all the way down, and then you'll have lots of fruit down here. Remember, some of them have come off the line a little bit. Same again, leave it till winter and then we'll move them into there. And that's all we need to do at the moment for the raspberries. With the looks of the sky, we'll be getting a shower soon, so we'll call it that today. And then next week we will probably start on removing the butternut squash and get them in the shed, and then we'll start developing those beds ready for next year's crops. Now, I haven't actually done the cropping plan yet on the whiteboard. We've been a bit busy laying slabs in the courtyard. We're getting down a new courtyard for next year. Me and my son are laying those, so we're spending quite a bit of time doing that. But I will have the whiteboard ready for next week to show you how we've rotated and what crops we're going to be growing next year and where. And the other thing is, I have put my order in for my seed already, because there might be a shortage next year, so best be on to that. Now, these are the apples we've harvested off that little tree today. A wonderful crop, very, very pleased with them. And that little tree never seems to fail us, so we're happy with this. These are the apples that were under the bottom of the tree. They haven't quite got so much sun, so they haven't reddened off much. They're still perfectly edible. What I will do, as or before I lay them out on the bench where we store them, as I do it, I'll just check each one and make sure it's good enough to store. Only store your best. The rest, if they're not quite so good, they can be used or frozen now for later pies, etc. Now, the apple is Spartan. Brilliant apple, keeps wonderfully, keep well into next year in the shed with no heat or anything on it. We're very, very pleased with it. Now, that'll be it for this week. It's just beginning to rain. I can hear it starting to come down a little. So, thank you for watching. Many, many thanks for subscribing. And do take care, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Bye now.